So I was on a train with my children last weekend, and there was a woman from Costa Rica who we were having a conversation, and she said, "You have until 12, and then you're done raising your children until they're age 12." And you're like, oh my gosh, that's next year. And I love it. It felt like it was a little bit of a cross-cultural experience where she was like, this is how it is. This is how it is in the culture I was raised. And I really appreciated it because I've thought some of those things before, not to that extreme, but that there are significant shifts in the way a parent parents through the stages. And parents are going to be better and different at different stages because what it requires is almost opposite types of personalities. So early on, you need that nurturing, and you're the guardian, and you're completely creating and shaping that little life. But yet at the end, at the tail end of parenting, you're almost completely hands off and letting that independence come, and you have to move into a coaching place. That can be a very difficult transition for people. It's difficult to see your child for the age they really are. You know, most of us freeze our kids at a certain age. And I think the other day I even said that one of my children was like 7 and she's actually 9. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's frozen at 7. I can't, this isn't going to bode well for her teenage years. So how do we allow ourselves to be changed even as our children change? And particularly for when our children are in the teens to 20s, this is a real critical time to move out of that parenting and into a coaching place. How do you move into a relationship? Well, there's a sincere need there for real conversation and for a desire to allow that person to blossom into who God's made them to be, even if there's some twists and turns in that road that you don't really like. I also often remind parents that their children are experiencing young adulthood in a generation that's completely different from the way they experience it. That's always true. That's always true. It's so simple, sometimes we don't even think about it. But you have to remember that the day and age is different. And one of the things I find myself telling parents all the time is your child, if they're in their teens or 20s, experienced 9/11 in a very significant way. And your child has experienced the recession in a very significant way. And that may be different than your reality. So before you judge the way they're doing it or how they're finding their job and life and what they're doing, just know that this is a very different world. And there's room there for grace and actually to want to be a student of your own child, to say, what does life feel like to you? What does the world feel like? Now that comes, of course, knowing that you're a parent who has more wisdom than they do. And at some point you might say, okay, I appreciate all the ways that you think about this, but this is a few hard lines. I had a mom friend of mine be like, I appreciate all this, but this is a few hard lines. You get a full-time job by September 15th or you can't live here. Okay, honey, let's go to dinner. You know, which is great because it's kind of like there's boundaries in life and I'm going to keep having those be there even as you become an adult, but I'm still going to love you and desire a relationship with you. That's a fine line and a hard line, but it's a place where if you've been in good relationships with people, it's not as hard. So keep pursuing good relationships. Go to your other adult friends and talk to them about the ways that they're parenting and what they're experiencing. Don't go to your own children with that. That's not helpful. Go and find that place and decide that you're going to continue to be a student who's learning and hang on for the ride. Most of them turn out pretty well. It's just a tough season in there.